Kia ora, everybody. My name is Robbie Pickford. I'm the International Recruitment Manager for King's College in Auckland. It's my pleasure today to be able to talk with you about private schools in New Zealand. New Zealand private schools, also known as independent schools, are among the highest performing in the world, and they provide international students with a safe, secure, and welcoming environment in which to study. There are currently approximately 90 private schools in New Zealand. Private schools in New Zealand are consistently rated top in the English-speaking world for reading, maths, and science achievement, and they boast outstanding academic results, giving clear pathways to the world's top universities, including our own universities here in New Zealand. Our strong pastoral care programs nurture healthy students and develop critical skills that enhance students' well-being, positive behaviours, and academic performance. Some of our schools have school chaplains who develop and encourage a spiritual dimension in our students' education. Private schools in New Zealand have the freedom to be innovative and to be at the cutting edge of education. As well as focusing on numeracy and literacy, there is a strong emphasis on leading students towards lifelong learning and enabling them to be critical and creative thinkers. New Zealand private schools provide a wide range of activities in the sporting, performing arts, outdoor education, and service areas, and employ specialist teachers in these co-curricular subjects. In New Zealand, we believe that students being able to pursue their sporting or cultural pursuits is an important part of an all-round education. The following slides give you a few examples of the amazing facilities and opportunities offered to our students at private schools in New Zealand. There are many types of private or independent school in New Zealand. Some students will attend a school that has a preschool, and they can attend from 2 years of age to 5 years of age. Students go to primary school from age 5 to 10. Some may go to a middle school from the age of 11 to 14. Secondary schools are usually 13 years old to 18 years old. Some schools will also offer boarding as an option, and other schools will be single-sex or co-educational. It is great to be able to offer a wide range of options in the types of school, which gives parents choice so they can find a school that best suits their child. Private schools also offer a range of qualifications. NCEA, our National Certificate of Educational Achievement, is the New Zealand curriculum. Some schools may offer the Cambridge International Education Program, and others may offer the International Baccalaureate Program. New Zealand's education system is a 13-year program with students starting when they turn 5 and continuing on until they're 17 or 18 years of age. The exams for university entrance are in the senior years, and students, once they have achieved their university entrance, will go on to other tertiary opportunities, many of which will be a university pathway, either here in New Zealand or at some of the prestigious overseas universities. We have a very strong teaching curriculum in New Zealand. Te Whariki is our early childhood curriculum, and it encourages exploration, communication, well-being, contribution, and a sense of belonging. Moving into this school system, we're encouraging students with the skills of thinking, using language, symbols, and texts, managing self, relating to others, participating and contributing. While in the tertiary sector, we continue on wanting our students to be thinking, using tools interactively, acting autonomously, and operating in social groups. All of these, we hope, will lead to our young people being confident, connective, actively involved, lifelong learners. Our teaching and learning philosophy at King's College is an example of how we apply these skills. We look to get our students to be curious, world-focused, fair-minded, responsible, collaborative, influential, kind, and well-grounded. These are all skills to equip students for life as lifelong learners. Through teaching the way we do in New Zealand, we achieve outstanding results, and our private schools offer great examples of that. And from these results gives students a great platform to go on into their university life. International students are offered a range of accommodation options at our private schools. Some schools may offer boarding and homestay. Some schools only offer homestays, and sometimes a student may be living with a parent who is in New Zealand on a guardianship visa. Our code of practice ensures that all accommodation is carefully monitored and managed by the school. Superior, innovative, and cutting-edge facilities are what is offered in private schools. Some of the opportunities offered through this are performing arts centres, TV and media studios, aquatic centres, gymnasiums and fitness centres, equestrian parks, sports academies, science and technology blocks, multi-purpose sports grounds, agricultural farms, rowing academies, velodromes, auditoriums, ballet and dance academies, golf academies, and much, much more. We offer a very wide range of subjects at our schools. Many of these are allowing students to follow their dreams and prepare them for the career pathway that they want to follow. This is just a very small example of the range of subjects that are on offer in many of our schools. Most students will study either 5 or 6 subjects in their senior years while they are working towards their university entrance requirements. We also like to use the outdoor as a classroom, and many subjects will take students out into our wider world and be using their skills to research and find the answers in a practical way. Our schools offer world-class facilities and access to a very wide range of opportunities. New Zealand was ranked #1 country in the world for educating students for the future, according to a report by the Economist Intelligence Unit released in 2018. So why choose a private school in New Zealand? Private schools offer a range of options to suit your child: a quality education, cutting-edge facilities, small classes and excellent teachers, student-centered learning, academic excellence, range of qualifications, innovation, co-curricular activities, pastoral care and student well-being, and New Zealand being ranked #1 in the world for educating for the future. If you would like to get more information about some of the private or independent schools in New Zealand, you can visit the Independent Schools of New Zealand website or email them and ask for more information. Now I'll ask you to head back to the detailed program page, our timeline for the day. To get back, just click on the arrow in the top left-hand corner of this view where it says back to.
Kia koutou. Hello everyone. Welcome to this section, and thanks to Robbie for the presentation. Although it only is a 10 minutes short presentation, I think it still gives us an overview of New Zealand independent school sector. My name is Felix, Senior Manager of Education New Zealand based in Guangzhou, China. We are so pleased to have Robbie Pickford with us today for the presentation, as well as this Q&A section. Robbie is International Recruitment Manager at King's College, the most prestigious independent schools in New Zealand. Robbie has rich experience in international education. Before working for King's College, she was the international director for Rangitoto College and Takapuna Grammar School, as well as was the project manager of SEBA, the peak body of the school sector. Robbie, here I have a few questions from the floor. As you have just mentioned in your presentation, there are 90 independent schools in New Zealand currently. As we know, New Zealand have a very good quality of public school system. And I also know you have experience both in state school and private school. Could you please give us some comments on how to choose between private school or state schools for our parents?
Certainly. Nice to be here today, and thank you for your welcome, Felix. That's lovely. It's always a very hard decision for parents to make as to which school they should choose. As you just said, we have excellent state schools as well as our independent schools. So I think it's very important for families to do the research, looking at all of the factors that they want for their child. And so as each child is very different and has different needs, it's important to look at things like class sizes, what is their child going to feel comfortable with, the education that is offered. So some students are looking specifically for schools that offer IB or Cambridge, and there are some state schools that also offer those options. The location of the school, the overall size of the school, and the opportunities that are being offered at that school, because we like to make sure that students are able to pursue their co-curricular activities as well as their academic. So those are some of the key things I think that are important for families to be looking at, so that they can find the school that best meets the needs of them and their child.
Yeah, this I always hear some parents they are actually is quite hesitant, saying, okay, if his or her kids very poor academically, or maybe not that self-control by themselves, so they think, oh, maybe because the private school they have a small class size, maybe can accommodate them well, especially in pastoral care. What do you think about that? Because I think actually, in my opinion, actually, the private school, they sometimes, some private school, they are very high academic performance requirements in terms of range requirements.
Yes, so I think each school has different requirements for entry into the school, and for my school we do require a high level of English as our main requirement, and we're looking for the equivalent of IELTS 5.5. And we ask for that and insist on it, because we are wanting to make sure that our students are able to be successful in the classroom, and that their English level is not holding them back. We do interview all of our students in most schools, whether they are private schools or state schools. They interview the students to try and make sure that it's a good match for the school that they're applying to. I certainly think that it is. That's why in New Zealand, I think we're so lucky that we're able to offer choice, so that parents do, have the chance to look at what is best for their child. And if they need more support, those are some of the questions that they need to ask the school about, and ask how that can be provided for their child.
Okay, because the New Zealand school also offering different curriculums. So they have NCA, IB, and A level for CIE. So how to choose those curriculums for our school counselor or for the parents?
Yes, again, a very good question, and one that is quite a challenge for families to decide upon. Often they will know that very early on because it might be linked to a university that they're wanting to go to that recognises one qualification more than another. I think it's very much about the style of teaching and learning for each of the different curriculums that we offer, and so we find that sometimes some students are better suited to NCEA. They like the fact that they have to maintain their work throughout the year, gaining credits as they go. They can really see how they're tracking, while others prefer to be able to work steadily through the year and do a main exam later in the year. So it's very much individual choice, and again, something that parents and students need to do that bit of extra research, ask the questions about how each of those syllabuses will work for their child. And I think, yeah, it is a personal preference. At our school, we teach CIE, and it is interesting that approximately half of our students do NCEA and the other half do CIE. So it's really interesting how that is tracking. We offer a choice at year 11 for students to do a combination of NCEA and Cambridge to allow them that opportunity to be able to decide for year 12 which one suits them the best.
Okay, from your experience, I know you have quite a rich experience dealing with Asian students, especially with Chinese students. There's some kind of like, I'm not sure whether it's a misunderstanding or kind of a mix. Is parents, they think IB is the most difficult curriculum compared with Cambridge or NCEA. From your experience, what do you feel is for the Chinese students when they, do you think they are very good at the exam, for example, like A level, or they're very good at the IB? Because I'm not sure whether you have that kind of idea.
Well, I've worked in a school that offers IB as well as a school currently that offers Cambridge. So I certainly see the students and how they manage, their learning. I think possibly the most challenging part of IB is the very long essay that they have to complete as part of their IB, and it's the English content of that can be a challenge, and that's why schools do require the students to have that strong level of English on entering high school when they're going to be going into year 12 and needing to be able to cope with academic English for their study. So I think that's the key thing, but I've seen some very, very successful students in both IB and Cambridge, including Chinese students getting 45. So you can't get better than that. So I think it's very much a personal choice.
Okay, very good. That's the next question. Can you recommend any private school offering boarding facilities to international students? Yes, I know it's not all private school offering the boarding facility to international students. Is that right?
So most or a lot of independent schools offer boarding. King's College does, and there are a number of schools around New Zealand like St Peter's in Cambridge, Scots College in Wellington. There's a lot of other schools that offer that boarding opportunity. And I think the best way is to go to the Independent Schools of New Zealand's website, which is on my last slide, and have a look there. There is a list of all of the independent schools, and it will show which ones do offer boarding. Also an email to independent schools, or certainly I'm more than happy to help anybody looking for one, and then look at what is the location they're looking for, what is the which of the curriculums are they keen on, and then find out whether they have boarding. Some schools will be boys' schools only or girls' schools only, and then there are others that are co-ed with separate boarding facilities for their students. So it's about deciding what type of school they want, then take that next step to find out which ones of those offer boarding.
So any suggestion for students if they want to take the boarding? Because I know as a lot of Asian students, they are not necessarily can cope with the, for example, like culture to the boarding house.
Yes, so all of our schools do offer a very, very strong orientation program on arrival, and most schools will also be sending students some pre-departure information so that, and trying to cover some of those key messages about how to cope well in a boarding environment. At the boarding houses, there are matrons and housemasters and people that are there to look after the students, guide them, help them to understand how all the systems work. I think the routines do certainly help the students to easily fit in. Boarding is great for helping students to make friends in their school when they first arrive. There is a strong structure. Mostly for our school, our students are 2 students to a room until they're in year 13, where they will have their own room. So these are all things that is good to find out about beforehand. I think probably often the worry for parents is things like the food and the meals, and of course being boarding schools, all the meals are provided for the students, and a huge array of food is now available, including lots of vegetarian options. The schools cater really well to all the students' needs. Plenty of fresh vegetables and fruit always available. Excuse me. And so then I think sort of the systems within the school, other students help to support the new students coming in too.
Okay, very good. And also, you probably already know in Asia, especially in China and also Hong Kong, have a lot, great number of international schools there. If the students start with the international school in Asian country, for example, like IB, they are in halfway through. Can they continuously to doing that in New Zealand?
So with IB, it is a 2-year program. If they do the first year in another country, they certainly can join IB for their second year in New Zealand. However, the term dates can be a challenge because the year for New Zealand starts in February, beginning of February, and they would have to be here for the start of the year, having completed the first year in their own country. So it is about the school year and how it operates in the home country and how that will then best meet the term dates here in New Zealand.
Okay, the last question, any support from the school will provide to those new international students who have a very limited English ability?
So for students that have very limited English, they need to be thinking about coming to New Zealand and starting school quite early. They can't enter into a senior program with very limited English because they won't be able to manage the workload and the schoolwork, and it will become very stressful for them. All of the schools, whether they be the state schools or private schools, require a good level of English for senior students. Many of the schools do offer an ESOL program to support ongoing language learning, but it really is advisable if they have very low English to consider doing an English course at a language school before they move into a full school environment. That way they're ready for school, they're not going to be overcome by their language difficulties, because they also have to adapt to the New Zealand way of teaching and learning. There's a lot of subject vocab that will be a little bit challenging, and schools do help with all of those things and offer lots of support. But I do recommend for somebody with very low levels that they either come, at primary or intermediate school so they can really get that language good, move into the high school with, and if still needed, they can get that ESOL support. But otherwise, language school to start with would be good.
Okay, I'm cautious about the time, so we will have to stop the live Q&A session now. Thank you, everyone, and please go back to timeline and enjoy the